Hey designers, in this video, we'll be walking through a step-by-step tutorial to create a cool effect in Adobe Premiere Pro. So, let's jump right in. First, import your video into Premiere Pro. Here's the video I'm working with. And this is how it looks before any editing. The first thing we're going to do is adjust the colors. Increase the saturation slightly to make the colors pop, then adjust the exposure and contrast to give the video more depth. Next, go to the Creative section and increase the sharpness to make the details stand out. Now the video already looks better. Next, let's bring in some textures. I'll be using 3 textures in this tutorial, and I'll provide links so you can download and practice with the same files. Let's start by dragging and dropping the crumpled paper texture into the timeline. First, we'll need to apply some effects to this texture. Go to the Effects panel and find the Invert effect. Apply it to the crumpled paper texture. It will turn blue, but don't worry, we'll tweak it further. Lower the exposure a bit and increase the contrast to enhance the texture's appearance. Now, let's import the dotted texture and scale it up so it fits over the video. Again, go to the Effects panel and apply the Invert Channel effect. After that, change the blending mode from normal to screen to make it blend with the video. We'll also lower the opacity to soften the effect and make sure it doesn't overpower the video. Once that's done, let's add some motion. Zoom in slightly on the timeline and move the playhead 10 frames forward. You can use the shortcut Shift plus right arrow to move 5 frames at a time. Once you're 10 frames ahead, take the razor tool and make a cut on the dotted texture layer. Move another 10 frames forward and make another cut. Repeat this process until you have 3 sections. Let's delete the remaining part of the texture after the last cut. Select the second section of the dotted texture. Head over to the Effects panel, search for the Flip Horizontal effect, and drag it onto the second section. For the third section, we'll apply the Flip Vertical effect. Now, when you play it back, you'll notice that the texture looks like it's moving. Select all 3 sections, hold down the Alt key, and drag them to the right to create a duplicate. Repeat the process by selecting the duplicated sections, holding down the Alt key again, and duplicating them once more. Continue duplicating until the texture covers the entire length of your video. If there's any extra portion of the texture that goes beyond the video length, just delete it to ensure everything is in sync. At this point, the dotted texture should look like it's smoothly moving across the screen. Select both layers, right-click, and choose Nest. This will group them into a single folder. Let's name the nested sequence Nest Effects to stay organized. Next, we'll bring in the paper cut effect. Drag and drop this effect onto the timeline, placing it above the nested sequence. Scale the paper cut effect up, making it larger. Then, give it a slight rotation by setting the rotation to -6 degrees. Adjust the position so it's placed toward the top of the frame, as this will give it a nice, dynamic look. Now, select the nested sequence, go to the Effects panel, and search for Crop. Drag and drop the crop effect onto the nest. We want the dotted texture to appear to come from the top and align with the ripped paper effect. Go to the crop options and focus on the bottom setting. Adjust the bottom crop until the dotted texture aligns with the area where the paper cut is. To match the rotation of the dotted texture with the paper cut, give the texture the same rotation value of -6 degrees. Once that's done, fine-tune the position and scale of the texture to ensure it covers the whole area seamlessly. Now, let's continue by moving the playhead 30 frames forward. You can do this by pressing Shift plus right arrow 3 times. This moves the playhead forward 30 frames. Click on the stopwatch next to the bottom property under the crop effect. Move the playhead back to the first frame. Adjust the bottom value by moving it all the way to the top. When you play it back, you'll see the transition, but we want to make the movement smoother. Select both keyframes, right-click, and choose Ease In. This will create a smoother start and stop for the movement. Now, open the graph editor to fine-tune the motion. Adjust the graph's curve to create a more fluid, natural movement. After previewing, you'll see how much smoother the animation looks. Now, we want the ripped paper effect to follow the same movement. First, select the ripped paper layer and move the playhead 30 frames forward, up to the point where the effect stops moving. Click the stopwatch next to the position property to set a keyframe. Next, move the playhead back one frame using the left arrow key. As you scrub through the timeline, you'll see the texture moving upward. Adjust the position of the ripped paper layer frame by frame so that it follows the upward movement of the texture. Continue adjusting the position until you reach the first frame and the texture is fully moved upward. Once you've done that, preview the animation. Now, let's move on to isolating the man from the background in the main video layer. This is going to be an easy process, and I'll guide you through it step by step. To start, create a duplicate of the main video layer by clicking on it, holding down the Alt key, and dragging it to the top of the timeline. This will create a duplicate layer. Now, select this duplicated layer, right-click on the duplicated layer and choose Replace with After Effects Composition. This will open Adobe After Effects, and you'll be prompted to save the file. Go ahead and save it. Once saved, the video will open in After Effects. Grab the RotoBrush tool from the toolbar. This tool is used to isolate subjects from their background. Double-click on the video layer within the composition, and using the RotoBrush, start drawing over the man in the video. The tool will automatically detect and select the man. If it selects areas you don't want, hold down the Alt key and paint over those unwanted sections to deselect them. Continue refining the selection until only the man is highlighted. Once the selection is complete, move the playhead all the way to the last frame of your clip. You'll notice a green line moving across the timeline, which indicates that After Effects is processing the selection for the entire video clip. Once the green line finishes, the man will be isolated for the duration of the clip. Now you can close After Effects and return to Premiere Pro. The isolated man will automatically appear in Premiere, layered on top of your existing effects. You can preview the video to ensure the isolation looks clean and see how it interacts with the effects underneath. Pretty cool, right? Now, let's freeze the frame at the point where the man is smiling. Scrub through the timeline to find the exact frame you want to freeze. Once you find it, use the razor tool to cut both the duplicated and original layers at that frame. Now, move the playhead a few frames forward from the point where you made the cut. Select both the cut sections of the duplicated and original layers, and move them to their respective positions in the timeline. Next, move the playhead to the point where the first section is about to end, specifically, to the second to last frame of this section. Right-click on this frame and choose Add Frame Hold. Do the same for the original layer, right-click, choose Add Frame Hold, and now you have frozen both layers. Stretch the frame hold all the way to the end of the timeline to ensure that the smiling man stays frozen for the entire duration of that section. You should now have a smooth freeze frame of the man smiling, creating the desired effect. Now that the man is frozen in place, we want the effect to start from the exact point where he becomes frozen. Select both the ripped paper effect and the texture layer, then drag them to the same point where the freeze begins, so everything aligns perfectly. If your Premiere Pro starts to lag or become slow, change the resolution from full to 1/4 for smoother playback. Go to the Sequence menu and choose Render into Out to render your sequence. This will help the video play smoothly once the rendering is complete. Now, preview the video. Check the part where the freeze effect happens. If you feel that the frozen section is too short, especially since you want to add text to this part, you can extend it. Select both the end sections of the video and move them slightly to the right to make more room. Then, select the frames where you applied the frame hold and stretch them to match the new extended duration. This will give you more space and time for the text and ensure that the freeze effect is noticeable and impactful. Now, let's focus on enhancing the frozen section of the video. Select the frame where the man is frozen with the frame hold applied, and slightly scale it up to around 109%. Make sure to do the same for the original layer below it, scaling it up to 109% as well to maintain consistency. Apply the default transition to both the duplicated and original layers to create a smooth effect between the freeze and motion. Adjust the duration of the transitions to make them shorter, giving a quick and subtle effect. As the effect moves down, this is where we will introduce the text. Take the text tool and type the text you want to display at this moment. Highlight the text, and then choose your desired font. Adjust the size of the text to fit your scene and move it to the appropriate position on the screen. If needed, make the text a bit smaller for better placement. To style the text, add a stroke. Start by applying a black stroke. Then change the fill color to a yellowish orange tone for contrast. Increase the stroke width slightly for better visibility. Add another stroke by clicking the plus icon, and make this second stroke white for a cleaner look. Adjust the position of the text again, ensuring it fits well with the scene. Once you're happy with the appearance, let's add an animation to the text to make it more dynamic. Under the opacity options, choose the pen tool to create a custom mask around the text. Draw a shape over the text, hiding it initially. Now, click the stopwatch next to mask path to begin animating the mask. Move a few frames forward in the timeline and adjust the mask's anchor points. Drag the points on the right side, pulling the mask to reveal the text gradually. As the mask moves, it will uncover the text, creating a smooth reveal effect. For the second line of text, we're going to duplicate the existing text layer. At the point where the first line of text is fully visible, select the text layer, press and hold the Alt key, and drag it to create a duplicate. Once the new layer is duplicated, hide the original text layer to make editing easier. Move the timeline indicator to the point where the first line of text is fully revealed, and now we will modify the second line. Highlight the duplicated text and paste the second line of text you want to use. Adjust the size of the text to make it bigger. Go to the first frame of the timeline for the second line of text. Select the mask path so that it becomes visible again. Select the bottom anchor points of the mask and use the downward arrow key to extend the mask a bit, making room for the larger text. Next, unhide the original text layer to check how the animation looks with both lines of text. For the second text layer, select the mask path and adjust it by selecting all anchor points. Move the entire mask downward to align it with the second line of text. Now move the timeline indicator to the second keyframe. You'll notice that the mask needs adjusting again. Select the bottom and side anchor points of the mask and drag them downward to make it larger, covering the text properly. Select this layer and move its position downward so that the text is revealed. Once the mask is set, you can adjust the font color, stroke, and any other styles like you did for the first text. To animate the third text layer, start by selecting the Text tool. Position the bar indicator at the point where the second text is fully revealed, then paste the third text you want to display. Adjust the size to your liking, ensuring it fits well with the other two text layers. Now, to animate this text, go to the opacity settings and select the Pen tool. Draw a shape around the text to mask it. Next, move the bar indicator a few frames forward. Select the anchor points on the right side of the mask and adjust them to reveal the text gradually. Once you've done that, preview the animation to ensure everything is smooth and working as intended. If there are any extra parts of the text or the mask, simply cut them out to clean up the timeline. Give it a final preview to ensure it runs seamlessly. And with that, your text animation is done. Thank you for watching this tutorial. If you found it helpful, don't forget to like the video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments section. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment and don't forget to subscribe to Ace Design for more tutorials.